With your experience, can you already see if it's something you would like to take on, or that you don't?
For me, I was just like, I'll read it through and then I'll kind of hear their pitch in terms of what they want from that particular character. And if I'm feeling it, if I'm like, you know what, yeah, this is fun, then I'll do it. So, for example, I've been working with a theatre company called Spontaneous Productions for the last, I'd say, 6 years or so. And it's only a small theatre company based in South London. And the artistic director there, Jonathan Kaufman, came up to me with like all these crazy ideas. And I thought, you know what, it's just crazy. It just might work. And I'll jump on board. So one example of which, he had a story. He does a lot of children's theatre, which I do. And he had a story called The Gingerbread Man that he wanted to reimagine. So he changed the story to where the gingerbread man became an Olympic athlete.
Oh, okay.
So he explained it to me. He goes, like, this is what's going to happen. So instead of him being eaten at the end, he actually joins in the London Olympics and wins the race.
I love this.
And I was like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, it did end up with me being in a neoprene gingerbread suit, but and this was in the peak of summer as well, bear in mind. So okay. It wasn't exactly it was a very hot show for me. But I saw the idea and it worked. It was so successful and everyone loved it. And it was something new on what was a very basic children's story.
Yeah.
So it's amazing what you can do if you just like put your head to it, sort of thing, and how far you can take things to be willing to
see. And you, with your sense of humor, you can see things like that. I mean, because you sort of when you said in the beginning that Eddie Murphy, that type of comedy, so you can understand that.
Yeah, 100%. I just, like I said, I read the script and I thought about the concept, and I was like, that is really clever. And that's really fun as well. And, you know, I've got a lot of time for writers because whilst obviously I don't want to get too repetitive or boring, I do appreciate that it's exceptionally hard to come up with new ideas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the genius about what Jonathan did was just take an old story, just put a spin on it, and you've got a totally new show from what was a basic story. It's a really nice thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also it's the writer important that the actors understand what he's trying to do, you know. So it's great. I think it's probably a wonderful chemistry if you find, as a writer, you find an actor like you can totally get it and, you know, run with it.
Yeah. No, honestly, I love things like that. And I also like people that take chances on things. So, and I'm always willing, like I said before, I'm a gun for hire. So if it's a good spirit or it's a good production setup, then I'm like, let's do it. Let's have a go.
Yeah. So is it more comedy that you want to do?
It's funny actually, because recently, I'm getting older. So children's theatre is something that I love doing and I'll continue to do. But I'm at a stage now where if I fill up my credit sheet with loads of children's theatre, you know, if you're a casting director or a producer and you see that, you're like, well, you can't really do anything else.
Okay.
So I've been quite mindful of that recently, that I need to do other things basically in order to keep myself consistent and keep myself current and available to different people for different things. The last thing you want as an actor, I believe, is to be like pigeonholed into one thing, especially as I said before, I want to do as much as humanly possible and be on board with so many different projects. They have to see that I'm willing and also capable of doing those projects. So it's something that I will continue doing, that comedy and such, but I also need to do sort of more serious pieces as well, which is something that I'm driving towards, just to keep those muscles fresh, basically, and well maintained.
And you doing mostly theatre, or do you do film work as well?
I do film work, but I do prefer theatre.
Mm.
And I was explaining this to someone the other day. With theatre, personally, I feel I have more control over what happens. So, you know, if it's live in front of people, every show is going to be different because the audience is different. What people laugh at, what people, you know, are shocked at will vary from show to show. Whereas film, you do a take and you in your heart feel it's like the best take and they don't use it.
Oh, yeah.
And they use something else. And then you'll see yourself do something like you might see your eyebrow twitch or you might see your mouth drop or something like this could happen. And you're looking at yourself and there's nothing you can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
And
it makes sense. Yeah.
So, yeah, I've done film and I love film. Don't get me wrong. I will happily do like shorts and features quite happily. But there is such a distance between what I do and what happens in post-production that I don't feel part of it anymore. I just feel like I've been sort of ripped away. And then and whatever I see. So, and that's not really up to me. You know, because I would have done take after take, and if they don't use it, like I said before, or if they use a different angle or whatnot, nothing to do with me. And so it's the lack of control I get from film, which is the reason why I prefer theatre.
I've never thought of it like that, but you know, it's the same in photography as well. That I feel sometimes when I'm photographing somebody, I see something that I think is, you know, something that I identify in a person, that I love in a photograph, but then it's not always something that they like to see of themselves. Yeah. And then it's sort of, you lose, then you lose sort of that control over what your work is, you know, because the person has the choice of which photograph is the one that they want. So it's almost the other way around then as well. So work, you were talking about something, you were talking in the beginning about work that you've done now. What was the project that you were busy with now?
So I literally just finished a small run of an immersive version of 1984. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with the book?
No.
So it's a really famous book. It's by George Orwell. Mm-hmm. And it's about a sort of dystopian future in which, you know, language has changed, how people are controlled from Big Brother, a dictator, if you will, and a man's journey navigating this world where he wants to, you know, have his own thoughts, where he wants to read old texts, which they're trying to erase from history, you know, and how hard it is because he lives in a world where he's constantly monitored by the state through
I think I've heard of it. Yeah, I haven't read it, but I know what you're talking about now.
I recommend you read it. It's such a good book.
Really?
And it's funny, actually. It was one of my favourite books as a kid. I read it in my teens. And it's the 40-year anniversary of the year that the book was set, if you will. So it's 40 years since 1984, basically.
Yeah. Shows you how old I am, because I was a teenager then.